Hello, my fellow YouTubers and TikTokers. This is Roy back again. Working on the Dr. Korsky experiment here. I just realigned the iron pieces in here, my electrodes. And this is my vacuum chamber. We have a quartz crystal here. And what I did was I traced it, dated it, and this crystal is going to be set right here. Okay. And the experiment is this. Twofold. We are going to take this and we're going to have the wheel turn. I am going to take the back EMF on all of these coils when this wheel is turning. The back EMF from the bifilar coil. Each one of these coils got their own 2N3055. So there are individual power sources coming in. There we'll have a 36 volts of DC power coming in. And they each are maxed out at 115 watts. So you have 8 coils times 115, so that's 880, 90, 920 watts of power, give or take. And I am going to put that into a capacitor bank. And then I am going to allow every fill and displacement of fill to go into one section here. So I have 2 copper plates on one side with a bolt, 2 copper plates with a bolt. Then I have 2 aluminum plates with a bolt and 2 aluminum plates with a bolt. That's for me to identify the electrostatic pulse and the electromagnetic pulse. So I will use the copper ones as electromagnetic. So when this wheel turns, it is pulsing the copper plates for electromagnetic pulse induction. What that will do is be a one part of the system. The other part of the system is electrostatic. The electrostatic, right now I'm going to use my flyback and my little ZVS driver, but will come from the wheel itself with the high voltage Van de Graaff section, which will be in capacitors and released also in here. So what happens when you have a constant electrostatic and you have a pulsed AC wave, but basically it's not AC, it's a DC pulse wave. You'll have the ether in this quartz crystal right there start to compress and start to expand the ether around this crystal. And the reason I diagrammed it out and traced it is because according to Dr. Korsky, we should be turning this clear, obviously very clear crystal, quartz crystal, into opaque. And opaque, when I mean opaque, we can use this crystal, for instance. This is a crystal in my hand that is iron and quartz crystal. So you have your iron ore being made, and the quartz crystal is the frequency capacitor to this. So you can see this one's opaque. I was hitting this one, but I wasn't hitting it right. And I don't know if the iron on the outside shields sort of like a Faraday cage around this crystal for this crystal to be able to expand. And I didn't trace this one out. So what we're going to do here is just set that beautiful beast over there. And we're going to focus just on this one. And what, you laughing at my shoes? Yeah, it's SpongeBob in the house. So, yes, this is going to be one function of my experimental table. I do have, actually, no, it won't be pulse DC wave. My bad. It's going to be AC wave because we have the Figueroa. And in the patent of this Dr. Korsky experiment in 1917, he was studying crystals to see if he could find a constant in, that's how we have our constant make and break, sort of, if you want to call it, transistor, crystal radio, is what I'm talking about. Before the radio was crystal, they were using spark gaps. They're very staticky, noisy, and inconsistent. And Dr. Korsky is the one that was doing the experiments on letting us know that crystals are, you can dial in the frequency much finer to be 99.9, the radio station, or 100,000, and really nail it right to the spot. You know, we're talking about propagation at its finest. So therefore, here we have the crystal. We have a clear crystal. And when we start, I'm going to do a journal when I turn this on and off and the time it is on. And we'll be able to pull this off because it's just crazy, or just hot glued. We're two things. I would like to see this done in vacuum. But let me tell you what doesn't work in vacuum. What doesn't work is the fact, on my last experiment with this, something I noticed that under 30 pounds of pressure, that everything inside this environment just turns into plasma. Now, that doesn't mean it's not getting a pulse wave but I question the plasma being able to put electromagnetic in its place. So I think it steals the electromagnetic pulse that I was using before on the 15,000 volt, 60 milliamp neon transformer. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's what I think. I think the plasma. So on this one, it'll be an open air space without the lid on. If I do anything, it'll be to show you under vacuum what the field looks like. It's sort of a pixie, but it's in plasma form. So we will do some experiments with this, but we will attach my Dr. Korsky into my Figueroa, into my Bedini, and then into my Van de Graaff. And then the only thing we're really missing is the creator of the gathering of all this as my workstation. We'll have to add the St. Vincent work table. And all my troubadours are here working alongside me, I would say. and then I would also add Walter Russell and things that you may notice as a sidebar in regards to my Walter Russell effects that you will see, my anomalies, will be my cone onto a cone. And what I mean by that is if you see this setup where there's a slicing in the middle of a vertical and a horizontal. Now, when this is in motion and that is in motion, you have a Walter Russell effect. It's a beautiful experience to see that. Let me get this up here. And you see this magnetic field in motion, how it expands out and how it just 90 degrees goes into the magnetic field here when this is spinning. So I'm going to recreate that dynamic, not with this. No. I want to recreate that dynamic over here. So most likely on this side will be my combination of Oregon accumulator that I will build from Wilhelm Reich, which is a big time beginning start of my favorite troubadours who brought to the attention to humans on different attributes on energy. He called it Oregon energy, had a blue aura. Basically, he was picking up, obviously, but his was more organic in a sense where humans, it was pretty interesting. So we'll get into building the organic or Oregon accumulator. One, the cloud buster that he has. We can always wanted to build a mini cloud buster, but not now. But the other one is the Oregon accumulator. It was a box where people will go in this box, and the box was layered, 10 layers, I believe. It was organic, inorganic material. So what organic, inorganic material was a metallic for metals, steel, wool, whatever they had back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then they also use wood for organic. So I think we can sophisticate that up big time. That accumulator, which to me would be like this box, same size maybe, we'll use, and then it'll be layers of organic, inorganic material plates, okay? And what we'll most likely do is pyramid shape the box because we're not putting humans in it. We are going to accumulate Oregon energy. He was able to run electric motors off of it as well. So if we were to take a box just like this, and you see how I have the plates. So you would have to go where the plate on the inside of the accumulator would be the metallic. And for you guys that don't know the difference between the organic and inorganic expressions of itself atomically, the difference between the two in one fashion that I'll tell you is that the metallic metals, not only do they attract Oregon energy, but they also repel it. So when you think about that versus organic just absorbs it. It doesn't repel it. So the good thing is if you have something absorbing on the outside, and not repelling, you would have the next layer as a metallic that also absorbs it, but then it repels it. And then that means that it's not going to allow it to go back like a dioid, not back through the metallic itself. So therefore, you would have organic in front of it again to absorb that energy and pull it inward. And then the next plate would be a metallic as well. And then again, it would repeat the process. And what it's doing is taking the energy and driving it down in through, we'll call it a pyramid, down in through the energy to where it gets to the center, which is metal plates. And what we'll do is we'll probably build a Joey cell, a Joe cell they call them. We'll build a cell inside the center, because there's no patent on this. There's nothing other than some books out there, which are hard to get. But interesting, it takes the energy, drives it to the center, and then you would obviously at that point have, if you're going to turn it into a mechanical, electric energy, kinetic, you're going to conform that energy and do a conversion. And that's through compression. This is interesting stuff, but we'll get more into detail that. I don't know why I'm laying this out to you guys right now, because we're just starting off with the setup here. But the Wilhelm Reich Energy Orgone Accumulator will be built here. And then our Walter Russell basically is the wheel, but it becomes a little bit more dynamic than the wheel, because it's two vortexes and the cones, okay? And like Italy Scallon had. And the cones, the narrow ends face each other. And there's I'll call it a Bosch wall in between the two cones. So if I can draw it out, let me just draw it real quick for you. Let me get over here. So if I were to take, let me see. We know that's the crystal, right? Clear, very clear. Okay, so if I were to take this straight wall, I call it a Bosch wall. It's a flat singular, and what happens there from it, there's an expansion. It starts from a little bubble on both sides. Expansion, 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 expansion. So before you know it, you have a round surface, okay? And there's also a compression part of this as well, to where you have the mirror image of this expansion would be the opposite of expansion, would be compression. So the compression is being compressed in the nuclei of that. And then this is my Walter Russell. My Walter Russell experiment. This here in shape comes out a cone there, and then a cone there, and then a cone there, and then a cone there. And this is going to be my Walter Russell nuclei compression expansion experiments. Leave your comments. Leave your comments.